Sports fans, get ready for Sportz-USA. Get sports from a personal point of view from seasoned professionals who've reported and lived the stories. Now let's go to the crew high atop the Sportz-USA press box. Hello, everybody. I'm John Askins, and welcome to a brand new season of Sportz-USA.com. And we've got football on our brains today as we kick off the 2026 football season. And with us to discuss the national picture, we've got Kevin Long in Florida, Tom Russo in Texas, Bo Carter's up in the DFW Metroplex, and John Kearns has relocated to Wisconsin so he can fill us in what's the local media saying about the Big Ten this year. So that's great. We'll actually have coast-to-coast coverage when we get everybody together this year. So let's start with college football, and we've got a lot of new teams shifting here and there, but really, as far as the national rankings are concerned, it's the same old, same old. We could start with the Big Ten, and John, you've delved into that race a little bit. What are the people saying in Big Ten country?
John, they're really confident. They're looking for a 4-feet. They've had Michigan, Ohio State, and then Indiana last year, the surprise. They're looking at any one of 5 teams being in contention for a national championship this year. It's pretty, and all the things that I've been looking at, delving into the Big Ten, never really did that much before. It's kind of a 3-tier conference. You got the haves, the have-sortas, and then the have-nots. And that's
Exactly.
kind of true almost. And, you look at the top tier, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, they're in that $40 million to $50 million plus club. That's what they're paying right now for their football teams. And then you get down to the bottom tier, Wisconsin, which I feel sorry for Pickle. I mean, he's on the hot seat. I guess he's the number one person being predicted on that, what's that sporting network that you could bet on anything?
Yeah. Kalshi or FanDuel.
So whatever it is, I mean, he's the guy that they're saying he's going to go first. So it's interesting. I mean, even USC this year is picked to be, a top 5 team. So, I mean, they think they've got it all together, but they said that for several years now. Number 1, Ohio State. I mean, they feel confident that they're going to do it again. I mean, their budget, $47 million. I mean, that's double what most of the mid-level teams are playing right now. So,
right.
Yeah, even Penn State, some of the ones that are in kind of the middle right now, they feel confident. I mean, they got a new coach. They went out and hired Campbell from Iowa State. So they feel good. I mean, there's been a lot of change, but you listen to the commissioner, he's kind of saying it's going to be the same old, same old. We don't talk the talk, we walk the walk. And, kind of throwing a slam at the SEC because they've been talking, but so far they haven't been in the championship game for quite a while. So
that's right. Now,
Big Ten pretty confident.
Didn't you say that in the last 12 matchups, or they're like 10-2, or are they
8-2 against the SEC in the college football playoffs?
A couple of years ago, they did away with their divisions, so they got all the teams grouped in, to one pot, and I guess the top 2, as far as national rankings are concerned, will play for the championship. And you're right. I think right now everybody's looking at Ohio State and Oregon to be 1 and 2. They're 1 and 2 in the AP poll.
First time since '87.
Yep.
And then you've got teams like USC and Nebraska, Iowa. I think that Kurt Ferentz has been there so long. I think this may be his last year.
I think I read 28 years.
Yeah, 28 years. He's had a great run. I know that they're getting antsy because he really hasn't had a championship in many years, but I'm thinking this might be his last go-round, so I'm expecting big things out of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Guys, any other comments on the Big
Well,
Ten?
I'm curious about what is Indiana going to do this year? Following up on the magical run that they had last year, it seems to me like, they're still the all-time losingest team out there, aren't they?
Yes. Well, they're pick number 6, so they're not far away. And
a little chip on their shoulder.
And an interesting matchup is coming up for independent Notre Dame. They've got to go to BYU. So Notre Dame is number 4. So, and I see a lot of national pundits picking BYU to beat them, out there in the mountains.
And play SMU later on in South Bend, but SMU's no pushover either. That's right.
You were talking about Campbell. How do you think he's going to be a fit, guys, in the Big Ten after spending so much time in the Big 12 and really elevating Iowa State to a different level, quite honestly? I mean, Iowa State was a doormat for years and years, and he really kind of took that program and put them on the map to some degree. I mean, they were never, national contenders, so to speak, but they certainly got some respect, and now he's going into Big Ten country. You think he's going to make a good transition into that?
Well, he coaches that type of ball. He coaches.
Yeah, he does.
The run first. And, I think that's what, talking about Kurt Ferentz, that's what he's done all these years is they get ready for winter up there, and they can play in all kinds of bad weather, and they got to run the ball.
Yeah, Happy Valley. I mean, just again, he's a hard-nosed coach, and he's a good motivator. I think you can see that from what he did at Iowa State. He took a team that couldn't believe in itself, and he changed them into winners. That kind of coach comes along, they bring that winning attitude with them, and I think he's going to have success. So, look out for the Nittany Lions. I mean, because they're going to be a little different look this year.
A lot more tools than what he had at Iowa State. I mean, there's no doubt.
Oh yeah,
he's going to have a lot more tools, a lot more backing. That's going to be a serious contender. I think, kind of a dark horse candidate to make some hay in the Big Ten.
And he coached at Toledo for 6 years, so he played against a lot of Big Ten teams. So, he's got that experience behind him.
And he's got a good recruiting, a good recruiting base in the Midwest. So, he knows the people. He's not coming into something totally blind. So I really think he's going to have, a good, successful season. It's, a lot of weight on him, but then again, who isn't?
Well,
exactly.
And you mentioned the have-nots. I mean, you've got the Purdue's and the Illinois and the Wisconsins right now that are really kind of struggling. So it certainly is a conference that has, that top to bottom. It's got the top tier, the middle tier, like you said, and the bottom tier. And I think that the SEC kind of has that as well. I don't know if that's a good transition there to get into SEC talk. I think we've got a good run for your money in the SEC. Of course, Texas is going to be up there. They've got a lot of returning players, although there was some news out of Austin yesterday. They had a starting defensive player that got dismissed from the team. I think it was Arch Manning's friend or his roommate or something like that.
Well, and the other headline that I saw this week was it said, should Texas fans be concerned on the problems that Arch Manning is having in practice? Now, I'm not sure what exactly is going on, but, could this be year 2 in the overhype machine?
That's definitely true. But that happens out of Austin a lot. I mean, it's been a while since that national championship has appeared.
Well, it happens everywhere. And we were talking about the SEC. Texas and Georgia are the highest ranked teams, in the preseason polls. Kirby Smart right now seems to have the momentum against Texas, doesn't he, Bo?
He does. He's really, I was going to say, he seems to have their number going back to Sugar Bowls and everything. And the guy, I tell you what, Smart, no pun intended. The guy's won more. He was an academic All-America at Georgia. This guy's like he worked for Saban for several years. He's got all the tools there to really be in the top, in the playoffs every season.
13 years.
13 years, I know.
One of the things that you made me think of, Bo, we're talking about defense too is going back just a minute to the Big Ten. I think Gary Patterson is going to be a big factor at USC.
Yeah.
I think, he's relishing coaching against the big boys. And now that he's defensive coordinator out at USC, I think they're going to be a lot better.
That was one of the things I read today. I mean, that's why I think USC is picked as high as they are. Bringing Patterson on board, the offense has always been there. Lincoln Riley has been he's had the offense going. He's had great players there, and he's had really quality players on the defensive side, but never found anybody that could put it together as a package. And I think Patterson's the guy that he's been looking for. And I think that's why, out in the Coliseum, they're really happy right now.
Looking at the SEC standings down the line after Georgia and Texas, Texas A&M is ranked again this year. I did see one article that they thought that they might be one of the teams that falls back this year. Tom, what's your take on the rest of the SEC?
Well, I think the Aggies are it's the typical rally cry. The Aggies, right, every year, this is our year, and something seems to happen either late in the season that makes that not true. I'm really hoping to see them put everything together. I think Mike Elko's got a good package. I think he's got some good kids, some solid kids, but he lost a lot on that offensive line, and they're going to have some big shoes to fill there. Marcel Reed's going to need some protection. And they also lost some great receivers, especially KC Concepcion, who went on to the Browns. So we've got some holes there that they think they've found some good pieces to put in. But I see the Aggies probably losing 2 or 3 games this year and finishing top tier of the SEC, but not at the very top. I think Alabama's going to actually surprise some people this year. They had a kind of quiet year for Alabama last year, and I think that DeBear is probably getting a little heat because they haven't been at the very, very top like they're used to. But I think he's going to be able to surprise some people and put some things together. OU also is going to be up there in the mix as well.
Well, I think Alabama's a little bit more volatile pick this year because Coach DeBoer is going with a freshman quarterback. Now, he's a 5-star, commit, and they really had to make a commitment to him to get him there. And they may have a disgruntled other quarterback in that room now that they committed to go with a freshman. So it could be a real up and down year. They could lose a couple of games they haven't been used to, and I'm not sure that a freshman quarterback is going to carry you very far if they get in the playoffs.
I think they're due. I think it's going to be a big choice, a big gamble. But if it pays off, that risk playing that 5-star quarterback, if it pays off, I think they'll do some damage.
Bo, how do you see Vanderbilt? It looks like they're going to fall back after Diego.
They've got a couple. In fact, real funny. Will Muschamp's son is his perennial third team. I think he just carries the clipboard up and down there for the last 3 seasons. But they've got a freshman sophomore that played for him. I guess he could redshirt, but sophomore named Berlowitz from Chicago area that's really supposed to be a hot shot. So if he develops the way they've got the good running back Cedric Alexander from Austin back, so and their defense should be a little bit better this year. So anytime Vanderbilt can win 6 or 7 games, it's one heck of a year for
That's
them.
a banner year, isn't it?
Coach,
yeah, anytime.
What are you expecting now of the Sooners, Coach?
I look, improvement because the fact that Mateer can stay healthy, he's bulked up, he's worked on his mechanics, he's worked with some people all the off season, and they brought in some good people, couple of good receivers. One of the best receivers from Texas transferred in, so they did a good job. Their defense is still going to be super solid. I mean, anytime you have a Brent Venable team, and he's the guy calling the shots on defense now, I think you're going to see a solid performance there. They brought in some Jason Witten, now the tight end coach, and they went out and recruited 2 excellent tight ends through the portal. So I see a lot of, 2 tight end package this year for them. They got some good running backs they brought in to help take some of the weight off of Mateer. I mean, when your quarterback's the leading rusher on the team by double, then something's wrong. And so they went out and really tried to address those problems through the portal. They did some good finds in the high school ranks, although high school ranks kind of fallen to the wayside. It's kind of a scary thought in a way, but then
It is.
most of the action right now is all through the portal.
All through the portal. We beat that drum, ad nauseum. But yeah, it is. It's all through there. I also wonder what the SEC is gonna deal with Lane Kiffin. I mean, you've got him out at LSU now. He's got to go to Tennessee and Ole Miss, I think, this year, doesn't he? Aren't they both on the schedule?
Yes.
I thought you were talking about the infractions committee.
Well, that could be too. That could be too. But I think, what would they throw juice bottles at him or something out in Tennessee and all kinds of stuff. So it's going to be an interesting year in the SEC with the drama with that.
It's going to be really interesting. I think they're going to have to change it to LSU.
Yeah.
Because it's getting kind of crazy down there. I mean, like I said, he's doing everything he can right now to find workarounds on some of the rules and stuff for the SEC on the transfer policies.
Let's keep the NCAA. Let's keep the portal and the NCAA stuff until the end, because it is worth talking about. Just that. One thing I wanted to add for the Texas fans, you have got a tremendous addition at receiver at Cam Cameron, who transferred, I believe, from Auburn. He is an amazing physical specimen, and I think he can really help Arch Manning in the passing game. They needed a big-time receiver. They haven't had one that really could take charge like that, and I think if he stays healthy, he's really going to make them an offensive powerhouse. Let's take a look at the Big 12. Let's switch gears. And right now, as far as the Big 12 is concerned, it looks like the pundits are predicting a rematch again with BYU and Texas Tech. And one of the articles I read in ESPN has two Big 12 teams in the college football playoffs this year, both BYU and Tech, and they also have them winning a couple of games. So that would be a huge step for the Big 12 if they're able to get that far this year.
Well, I think if Texas Tech can keep their quarterback room healthy, which is true of almost anybody in any team, but they played that playoff game last year. They took a lot of flack for not scoring any points. Baron Morton was, basically crippled in that game, and so trying to play and playing with heart. I think if they can get through all the way through the season and still have a healthy quarterback or two, they'll be all right. There was so much quarterback drama with the Sorsby stuff and all the drama with all the teams saying they won't play Tech and all this. I want to see when it comes down to it, if they make the playoffs, if some of these teams that said they won't play will back off and not play and then just let Tech get a bye. I seriously doubt that'll happen.
Well, no, there's a game that's being played right now between the Big Ten and the SEC. And number one, they say they're the best conference. Well, if they're the best conference, then all they want to play is other conference members, and they want to exclude anybody else from playing them. And that way, they say, they've got the best rankings for the playoffs, which is complete BS.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes. Yeah. If you're scared to play other teams, then you, in my mind, you shouldn't have a position that you have. And I think the SEC has come to terms with the fact that they're no longer viewed as the number one conference. The Big Ten has taken that step over the last 3 years, and they're ramming it home right now. But let's stay on the Big 12. I would say that Tech and BYU, followed by Houston. And I tell you, a surprise team I think is going to do some damage this year. DJ Lagway was a bona fide stud out of high school, and he went to Florida, and I don't know what happened to him down at Florida, but he's transferred
10 million times.
Well, he's transferred back to Baylor, and I expect Baylor to be much better, and they're playing for their coach's job too.
I think so. I think you're absolutely right. Another team that I think is going to make some noise in the Big 12 race is going to be Arizona State. I don't think they're going to be in the finals, but I think they're going to have a say at who makes the final.
The one that's getting kind of left out, Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
I was going to bring that up, Coach.
Brought the whole team.
I expect
Yeah.
Oklahoma State is going to go from like, what is it, 1-11, 0-11, 12. I think they're going to win 6, 7, 8 games this year.
Yeah, I think they're going to play the spoiler role all season long because of the fact that, you got a completely new team, a new coach, new coaching staff, and he brought practically his whole team with him. So there's not going to be that downtime in the transition here.
Right.
And they were competitive last year, not Oklahoma State. I think it was
North Texas, 12-2.
They won like 11 games, didn't they, Bo?
12-2. Yeah, they had.
Yeah.
They were close.
The fact,
they were close to be a playoff
I
team.
think a lot of folks are going to like Oklahoma. They're going to surprise because of the fact, again, I'm a Sooner fan, Sooner bred, and all that, but I sent my daughter to OSU, so I guess I have some orange and black in me there too. So at least I got some green in it. So.
Well, there's intriguing position players at a lot of Big 12 schools. I think Arizona's got a great quarterback. I think Kansas State could be a factor.
Yeah.
You're talking about Texas Tech. They get to play Arizona State at home, but then at the end of the year, they've got a couple of interesting road games, and one of those is at Oklahoma State, Coach.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think it's going to. About mid-season, I think people are going to rise up and take notice because I really think they're going to be pretty solid by that. They should be solid going into the season. I mean, again, there's no transition period here.
No. What's the talk about Utah? Any talk about Utah?
Well, they're nationally ranked. They're in the top 15, and they have
it's a tough
new
conference.
coach. Yeah, it is really a tough conference. I think Tech doesn't have to go to Salt Lake City this year, so that's also a plus. They have a favorable schedule, but I think once you get past BYU and Tech, we've listed like 5 or 6 teams that could make a dent in their plans, and I think that Tech's got to go to Cincinnati. That'll be an interesting game, won't it?
Yes, that sure will. That'll be a lot of drama behind the scenes there.
To give some of the other conferences some love, let's talk about the ACC. Miami has picked to win it. SMU, I think, has picked second. And, I can't say enough about the job that they've done in rebuilding that program at SMU. They have been really doing great work over the last 2 or 3 years, Bo.
Yeah, he's used the transfer portal. 2 years ago, he had 9 guys that came in from Miami. That's sort of suddenly SMU's in the college football playoff. And then Miami took another 2 years to rebuild. Ashley is one of the really good coaching minds, and they've got Kevin Jennings, the kid that's a true Heisman Trophy candidate at quarterback. I mean, he's one of the great scramblers around. Just really reminds you a lot of like Cam Newton or Jameis Winston before they hit the skids in the pro during their college careers. And not a big kid, but very, very aloof. Once he gets the broken field, he's very dangerous.
Something about Dabo Sweeney. Is he on the hot seat this year? I mean, he's had a couple of years that didn't go quite as planned.
I think he has to be with the money that they put into their program down there. But he's also a guy that hasn't taken advantage of the transfer portal as much as some of his fellow coaches.
Not at all.
have.
He's actually been kind of vocal about not wanting to be involved with it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's just like us, guys. We can be as vocal as we want to about the state of football, but it is what it is. You got to deal with what is out there. You overcome the problems that you're facing, and I expect SMU to do really well again this year. Let's look at the new Pac-12. We ought to call that the state
The old
conference.
Mountain West.
Well, no, I mean, everybody in it is like a state school. And one of the first state schools that's about to be baptized is Texas State is going to go to Texas to open their year. And the new alignment is Colorado State, Washington State, Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, Oregon State, Texas State, and Utah State. So there is a state of mind out there.
But at least they're trying to put something together. I mean, we all wrote the Pac-12 off, 2 years ago when everybody migrated, and now we have a legitimate conference. It may not be quite as strong as the bigger, more well-known conferences, but it's starting to make a little bit of a note for itself as well.
The commissioner out there, she's done a really, really good job of rebuilding that conference, and she at least had the money that was left over when all the teams left, to go to the Big Ten. Well, the Pac-12 got to hold on to the name and their TV rights money there for a while. And so they've had $1 million to spend, and so they spread that around. But it'll be interesting. It will be different not to see San Diego State and Fresno State, those groups in the Mountain West. And speaking of the Mountain West, let's shift there. And they've got a lot of new teams in their conference, including North Dakota State.
Yep.
How do you think a team from, the lower division is going to do moving up to D1?
Of course, weren't they 8-2 against the last 10 FBS teams they played? So
they've been national champions.
We talked about them, several times before. In the transition, they're kind of being penalized moving up, not being eligible to participate in the playoffs.
If you're moving up, you should be eligible.
Coach. Double check on that. I think I saw where they're going to allow them to be eligible for the playoffs. I think
I hope so,
I read
because
something.
Initially when they made the move, they were told that they were in a 2-year window where they would not be eligible. They couldn't even they wouldn't be eligible for TV money or playoff, which was absurd. You're playing, you're making money off of them, and they're competitive. They've shown, by their record and just their whole track record, that they're competitive. They put a good team on the field, and they'll go out and play anybody. So I'm glad to see them getting an opportunity in the newly formed conference, to get a chance to do their thing.
New Mexico, I think, is going to be good once again. You've heard me talk about, their coach, Jason Eck, is really an outstanding leader. UTEP, I'm afraid, is going to be down at the bottom, even in this new conference. And they also, besides North Dakota State, I believe that Northern Illinois is in that league now.
Yes, that's a weird one.
So they've got New Mexico, North Dakota State, Northern Illinois, Nevada, UTEP, UNLV, Hawaii, Air Force, Wyoming, and San Jose State. So that's a mixture right there. So
that's a lot of travel too.
Yeah,
there's a lot of travel.
All right, you guys were mentioning, I think, Bo, you mentioned somebody for Kevin Jennings being a favorite for the Heisman. Right now, according to FanDuel, the leader starting, according to FanDuel, is C.J. Carr of Notre Dame, and followed by Arch Manning. The quarterback who transferred from Duke to Miami, Darian Mensah.
Darian Mensah, yeah.
Dante Moore, I can't believe Dante Moore is not ranked higher, the quarterback for Oregon, then followed by Julian Sand and Jeremiah Smith. And I'll tell you what, I'll throw in a couple other names. Bo, you said Kevin Jennings is somebody to watch. And I also think, as soon as I started thinking about him, I forgot his name, but the California quarterback is unbelievable athlete. I saw him play several times last year. And if he puts together a good year this year in the ACC, I would think that you'll hear, and I'll get his name in a second, but the California quarterback I was very impressed with last year.
Well, Alabama chose a quarterback today.
Yeah, did they chose that freshman, right?
Elon Russell.
He's a gamble. We talked about him earlier before you joined us. He's a gamble. He could do great things, but I don't expect a freshman quarterback to take him to a national championship. What do you think?
Highly unlikely, particularly in that league, because let's face it, a bunch of teams in the SEC could end up 9-3 and not go to the playoffs.
Well, unfortunately for the playoffs, what they're banking on is now there could be a 9-3 and an 8-4 team. We were talking about how the Big Ten and the SEC won't play other teams outside their conference, and then they want to claim that their rankings should put more teams from their conference into the playoffs. That's what it's looking like, Bo. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to try and just get as many teams in the playoffs and leave some of these other conferences in the dust.
No doubt about it. And they're trying to get if they get to the 16, 20, 24 teams, they'll have 8, 12, 13 teams. And they're just, again, the strange thing, Tom and I think we talked about it on one of the other shows. What do you do on down the line if they do have sort of a super conference concept and you've got a bunch of 8-4 and 7-5? The OU fan, coach will tell you this: the OU fans won't stand for 8-4.
No.
Very, and the Texas fans, they've fired coaches over 9-3 record. It's going to be the mindset's going to be very interesting in all this.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I was just looking at my phone here, and the first thing that popped up was, what would it take for Jerome? I'm going to butcher this name, Jaron Kiawi Sagapuluteli to win the Heisman. So Sports Illustrated it must have been listening to us, guys, because they're talking about that guy in the Heisman race as well. And if he plays as well as I saw him last year, he was a legitimate freshman. And I think he's a guy that I was really surprised that Cal could hold on to in the transfer portal. So that pretty much shapes up how we think that the conference races are going to go. Now let's get back to what we were talking about, Coach. The NCAA and the lawsuits have been flying. One thing that I saw, Texas Tech may get their quarterback depth that they were wanting with Tommy Castellanos from Florida State. He's in the portal, but you can believe Tech is dotting every I and crossing every T after going through that Sorsby mess. But now we've got how many pro players, Bo, did you say 19?
I think 17. Yeah, I think there, and that's several basketball players from the G League, et cetera. But they're a bunch
that are
of
in the
people
transfer portal now.
Yep.
I can't keep all the lawsuits straight in my mind. Okay, I know that the players before were gaining their eligibility for their 5th year, 6th year by going to local state courts. But then I thought that the NCAA had a victory last week in federal court that was going to stop all this stuff. Why are the state courts still have the ability to do something?
Well, they have the jurisdiction in their state. I mean, the fact is that that's the way the Constitution's written. That
But let me ask you a question. Tommy Castellanos played at Boston College, and then he was at Florida State, and so he got a reprieve by a Kentucky judge. You want to explain that to me?
Well,
is he from Kentucky? I don't know.
It's like everything nowadays. You go, judge shopping, and you're going to go looking for a judge that's, sympathetic to your cause. State courts, again, state courts are going to have jurisdiction over what goes on within their state and the state institutions. LSU, again, you look at Louisiana right now, it's the Wild West down there because of the fact the courts have been basically saying the NCAA rules don't apply and neither do the SEC rules to the schools there. So the courts have taken over the rulemaking, and right now the schools are just going out there shopping around for a judge in their jurisdiction, again, states that are going to be sympathetic to their cause. And until the federal government steps up, which is a scary thought, to get something right, we're going to have this Wild West show of, every state having its own set of rules and every state interpreting everything completely different from one another. So it's chaos.
Every state's
it's
trying
mass
to flex their
chaos.
muscles with too. I mean, they're trying to flex and come up with the big bad ruling, that's going to cover everything for them.
Well, they do have something that they've changed in place. Now starting with this fall, the 2026 players will have 5 years to finish 4 years of competition. So that it doesn't matter whether they're redshirted or whatever, they'll have 5 years and that's it. It won't be like the Miami linebacker that's in his 7th season.
9 years.
9 years or whatever it
Yeah.
was. And the one I saw yesterday, this player, a tight end, was in the Cleveland Browns training camp. So he's been in a professional already. He got waived intentionally so he could get in the transfer.
Probably make more money.
Yeah, he probably will make more money. And that's the thing about these kids that, are wanting an extra year of eligibility. Obviously, they're at the bottom level for the pros, and so they probably will make more money in college.
It's not about education anymore. It's all about, the pursuit of the almighty dollar. And you can't really blame them. I mean, the fact is they got an opportunity to make a buck. Free enterprise, great American institution.
Right.
So I'm not going to fault them for, looking at a way to make themselves a living. And while they can, it's a short, athletics is a short-term thing. I mean, you got 5 to 7 years of a window to
Especially
do your
football.
job. It depends on what court you're at and what state
Yeah.
you're in. I mean, the fact, and things get changed. I mean, like there was a ruling in Colorado. Well, it got overturned by the Colorado Supreme Court.
Right.
And so it went back to the way it was. You've got, like 50 different jurisdictions right now. And, used to have, the one NCAA was the almighty final word. And now that's not true. The NCAA is probably way, way, way down the line.
I
They're
never thought
toothless.
that I would wish the return of Walter Byers, right, Bubba?
That's right. That's right.
Well, I think back to Brian Bosworth wearing that National Communist Against Athletes shirt. You remember that when he got in all that trouble for wearing that T-shirt during one of the games or something that he had been suspended
game.
for or something because of the AA, and now they're toothless. I mean, what enforcement power does the NCAA really have now?
Well, they don't really, and that's why they're trying to push through this Safe College Athletics Act. And I thought there was some momentum there for a while, but then the legislators went on vacation and that went out the window. So I don't know if they'll ever get anything passed, but it looked like for a while Ted Cruz and the guy from Tech was going to get something pushed through. But then all of a sudden, the conferences started asking for this and that and everything else. And so it sort of, and the other thing that really slowed it down or maybe have killed it is that other legislators, other senators and representatives started looking into it and wanted this for their team and this for their state. And, I don't know that you'll ever be able to get anybody to agree on anything anymore in Congress.
Louisville right now, as of Monday this week, had two guys that were going to another circuit court in northern Kentucky to become eligible, and one guy that was affected by the Colorado ruling that was ineligible. Like Coach said, probably like now they're 50 or 60 small court or whatever.
They're seeking judges out. They're seeking judges
some kind of a mass.
that'll be sympathetic, like Coach K said.
State district judges. I mean, and they have the power to make a ruling that covers the state. And, you probably have 50, 60, 70.
Let me ask a question to Bo and you, Coach.
Yep.
So Castellanos is in Florida, and he got a Kentucky ruling that made him eligible. Doesn't he have to get a ruling in Texas now to play in Texas?
Good question.
I would think. I would think so, because the fact that state jurisdiction only applies within the boundaries of the state. They're not national rulings. Be it football or be it business or be it anything else. So they only have a certain amount of limited power. But no, I think if he wants to play in Texas, he's going to have to get a court ruling, and he'll find a judge. I mean, the fact.
Yeah.
How many judges are there in Texas that you could go to? So.
Well, I know that there was a Lubbock one that they wouldn't use for Sorsby, so maybe he's still around.
Maybe he's still around. I mean, so.
Bo, before you leave, I want to ask you one question. Let's touch on baseball real briefly. A lot of stuff's going on. Pennant races are crazy. The American League is like one big garbage heap of teams that are around 500. Today, Dana Brown was let go by the Astros as general manager, and they have not renewed Joe Espada's contract beyond this year. So it looks like the Astros are going to be in the process of cleaning house. How do you see that West Division with the Rangers and the Astros coming down?
They're probably upset because the Rangers are so mediocre this year, and they're tied with the Astros.
They are
for the lead.
It's a pillow fight.
It's
a true pillow fight for the championship in that.
It's the worst division in baseball by far. If they were in any other division, they'd be like 18 games out of first place.
But that's not necessarily true, because I looked at it, and besides the two teams in the National League, Milwaukee and L.A., everybody else over there is pretty much garbage. They'd be still in the running for a wild card, even in the National League. It's two teams that are tied, and they're both a game under 500. It's unbelievable.
It's like, the NFL's been doing this for years with their parity provisions. They want everybody to be 8.
You know what I think it is? This is the second year that they've played the round robin schedule with all the National League teams.
Yes.
And I think that's starting to affect both leagues, because it's very hard to go through both leagues and be, a juggernaut like the Yankees and the Dodgers expect to be every year. Yankees aren't leading there.
Back in the day, you would face that rotation in your division several times a year. So you might get used to a certain pitcher. You get no opportunity for continual reps against a certain rotation on any particular team. You see it one time maybe throughout the year, and you're not going to get any type of cohesion to your batting statistics.
Yeah, if you see Steve Mizorowski one time, you might as well take a vacation that day. That guy's unbelievable for Milwaukee. Our buddy Pat Murphy ought to be Coach of the Year this year.
All right. So I think Miami's going to win the ACC. I think Texas Tech is going to win the Big 12. I think Ohio State is going to win the Big 10, and I am going to go with a surprise team in the SEC, and I'm going to say it's going to be Alabama, because I think that freshman quarterback is going to be good. And my national championship pick is going to be Ohio State.
Yeah, I'll agree with, a lot of that. I think Ohio State is going to win the Big Ten. It looks like it right now. I mean, looked at on paper. Miami, I don't think anybody's going to be able to challenge them in the ACC, really. They've got the I think the Big 12 is, talk about a conference that's got the toss-up. I think there are so many teams right now that are going to be the spoiler, and it's going to come down. BYU kind of leaned that direction. SEC, LSU. As much as I hate to say it, he's gone out and put together, and if he keeps getting away with what he's getting away with, he's going to have the best professional football team in college football.
Professional team, he is.
And when they're graduate next year, they won't graduate. He'll just put them on waivers. Put them on waivers. Go to the NFL.
Right.
All right, Kevin, you want to try? Talk real slow.
I am not betting against Lane Kiffin.
Playoffs. I'll pick Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Miami, BYU, and I think a surprise team might be Iowa in the Big Ten.
You got to put Notre Dame in there.
Well, Notre Dame, if they lose at BYU, I guess they can survive that loss, but I don't know.
All they got to do is win
the rest of their games. Yeah, that's right. Okay, and so Notre Dame, that ought to. Well, that's 12, isn't it?
So I mean, the fact that that guarantee that galls me. I mean, again, I've talked
really
about it
is
before.
bad. It's bad. And Kevin, I know how you feel about Notre Dame doing their own little TV contract. You've talked about that before. So,
well, I think it showed a inordinate amount of selfishness.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us for our football episode, kick off the 2026 season. Thanks for joining us, Bo Carter, John Kearns, Tom Russo, Kevin Long. I'm John Askins. We'll be right back here next week, same time, same bat channel. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Sportz-USA, available at our website at sports.USA.com. And remember to click and favorite so you can join us next time on Sportz-USA.com.